Flint, Michigan, right? Michigan's a big deal. Michigan, we're talking about in the elections, in the context of the elections and everything. Flint, Michigan deserves some help. In terms of Flint's budget, $100 million to replace all the lead pipes. That's a hell of a lot of money for a city that's basically on the verge of bankruptcy because of 35 years of Reaganomics and insane trade policies. But $100 million, while it's a big deal and it's huge money for Flint, it's pretty irrelevant for the federal government. I mean, $100 million is what the federal government spends in maybe 5 seconds. It's nothing. Senators will argue about $30 billion, $50 billion, the $600 billion subsidy that we're giving to Big Pharma over every decade because of Medicare Part D, because we can't negotiate drug prices. Donald Trump, oddly enough, says, hey, let's start negotiating drug prices. I mean, more and more, it's every time he says one of these things, I have to go on Twitter and go, my head hurts. Donald Trump is making sense. Oh, my God. And this is why he's winning elections, by the way. And he's winning elections not only among Republicans, but big among independents. And this is the problem, and that's why because he's basically running to the left of his party. And America is a center-left country. I know you've been hearing for years and years from Rush Limbaugh and all the millionaires on TV, that millionaire commentators on TV, that America is a center-right country. It's a lie. We've never been a center-right country. Well, maybe at some point in our history we were. We certainly have not during my lifetime. Whether it was Dwight Eisenhower running for re-election on bragging about the fact that he added 1 million people to the 2 million people to the union rolls and 1 million people to Social Security, whether it's Lyndon Johnson and his Great Society, whether it's it was the Vietnam War that took him down and the brokered convention in '68 that was just a disaster for Hubert Humphrey. But on it goes. I mean, pick your issue. America is a center-left country. And Americans are sick and tired of this. I think that, last week I went on a long rant about how we are looking at the end of the elite consensus, both on the Republican and Democratic side. The elite consensus that on the Republican side, that people want, quote, small government. And now we're all discovering, you look back. I mean, David Stockman told us this, and nobody paid attention to it, that small government. It was who's the guy who was using the N-word, the Republican strategist, and said you can't say N-word. Lee Atwater, thank you, Francesco. It was Lee Atwater started back in the day. He said you can't use the N-word anymore, so you talk about forced busing in the '60s. He says now you don't even need to talk about forced busing. You just talk about economic issues, and everybody gets it that when you're cutting this and cutting that it hurts black people more than white people because a greater proportion of them live in poverty than white people. Now, it hurts poor white people, too, but hey, it's dog whistle to the white racists. And we can get the poor white people on our side, the Republican side, by throwing, guns at them or God at them or liberals, want to, whatever. I mean, fill in the blank. So I think it's interesting. The elite consensus on the Republican side, The racist consensus is still there, but it was always the elites always figured that they could do it purely and simply by dog whistle. And now they can't do it by dog whistle anymore because Donald Trump has blown the lid off it. He's out there telling the truth. Yeah, Republicans are racists. They hate Muslims. They hate Mexicans. Black people show up in his rallies. He automatically assumes because of the color of their skin that they're there to protest him. And over and over and over again, when they've been interviewed after they've been dragged out, they've said, I just wanted to hear what the guy's saying. I mean, if this was 1932 or 33 Germany before it got really, really bad and Hitler was giving a speech down the street, I'd go. I'm curious, right? That doesn't mean I support Hitler. And it also doesn't mean I'm going to disrupt the rally. Although, as time went by, actually the White Rose Society tried that. WhiteRoseSociety.org, by the way, is a great radio archive where you can hear our shows going all the way back, a decade or more, and a great charity. But in any case, the White Rose Society was a group of students in Germany who stood up to Hitler. And what did he do? He murdered every single last one of them. But anyhow, my point is that Trump is blowing up the elite consensus on the Republican side. On the Democratic side, the elite consensus, basically since 1988, 89, when Al Fromm created the Democratic Leadership Council, which then became the Third Way, which then became the Democratic Party. basically officially, and starting in 92, that let's bring in the banksters. Let's become the party of some big corporations and whatnot. The cleaner ones, the ones that don't pollute the air, the ones that don't kill people with tobacco. We'll leave them to the Republicans. And that elite consensus is breaking down because what that has done is it's led to two massive economic crashes. One really spectacular one. And it's destroyed our jobs. This whole free trade thing is part of it.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So we're seeing a fundamental realignment in American politics, and those people who get it are going to start winning.